Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Matt Powers Show, a nerd culture podcast where we talk about all things nerdy and culturally. I'm, of course, your main host here, Matt Powers, a cartoon character who's eager to tell you things that I'm excited to talk about. It's a show about passion. It's a show about who we are as nerds, and I think it's always fun to come together and talk about stuff that matters to almost no one but us, you know? But that's okay. That's what it's supposed to be. First off, I'd like to say hi to everyone. I hope you enjoy. I put on a fresh, clean outfit for you, so maybe I look a little different today. But excited to get to talk to all of you. I wanted to talk a little bit today about what we saw at the Nintendo Direct last week. The trailer for Breath of the Wild 2. Now, this is a Zelda game that is a sequel to the most recent Zelda game, Breath of the Wild, that they have been sort of teasing us with for the last couple of years. And they just gave us a trailer after 2 years of waiting since the last time they teased it. They just gave us a trailer which gives us a little bit more inclination about what's going on in the game. And there was something that kind of popped in my head, and I didn't know what I was thinking until I saw my friend Taylor finish playing Hyrule Warriors 2 when it hit me. Is Breath of the Wild 2 a sequel to Breath of the Wild, or is it a sequel to Hyrule Warriors 2? Now, if you don't know, if you haven't played one or the other, Breath of the Wild was supposed to be a game that takes place at the end of the Zelda timeline, after all these other games that have come out. There was a problem where Nintendo had basically built a multiple timeline scenario where there were 3 different timelines of Zelda games where they kind of all spin off in different directions. So Breath of the Wild is supposed to be their solution, where they said, well, with Breath of the Wild, it doesn't connect to any of them in particular. Instead, what it does is it kind of references all of them as if they're myth and legend. So maybe one of them is the true timeline, maybe it's not. We don't really know. But all those games you played in the past, if nothing else, are at least myth in the Zelda universe. Well, when you finish Breath of the Wild, you have fought Calamety Ganon, the return of Ganon, this one last time, and completely defeated him. He is gone. You have destroyed Ganon from the world, and you, Link and Zelda, are about to set out on the world to bring peace and prosperity back to it. Then they come out with this game called Hyrule Warriors, which takes place about 100 years before Breath of the Wild, which is the first incarnation of Calamity Ganon, in which we see a very different scenario unfold where 100 years earlier, Ganon is defeated. This creates a separate timeline where Breath of the Wild wouldn't have happened. So now we have divergent 2 timelines. The Breath of the Wild series, where we had to wait 100 years to defeat Ganon, and Hyrule Warriors, where 100 years prior we defeated him. So they're very different worlds. You know, the 100 years world of Breath of the Wild won't exist anymore. So now we have Breath of the Wild 2, which shows us what appears to be a mummy of some sort underneath the castle, where the power of Ganon once again is imbued inside this thing. Zelda is lost. Link loses an arm, and it gets converted and almost looks like a robot arm. And then the castle and a bunch of areas upon Hyrule are lifted into the sky. And that's a big part of the new gameplay of Breath of the Wild. It's not just an open world. Things will be up in the sky as well. So you'll have to travel between, different areas. And it makes you wonder if all of this is happening based on Breath of the Wild's timeline or the Hyrule Warriors timeline. And I don't know. Kind of looking at, I think it could go both ways. I think it's something, the red flag that went up in my head, and I went, we don't know where this is gonna hit. So I don't know if I haven't researched this. I haven't looked to see if anyone else has seen anything in the trailer which may or may not confirm things. But certainly there are other little elements of the trailer that kind of convince me that Link no longer has his little device that he had in Breath of the Wild, the little tablet that he carried with him. Him not having the Master Sword isn't necessarily a win or loss for this theory, but just the idea that maybe, I don't know. I need to go back and even look at the trailer again and see if when the castle is raising up, is a Hyrule town still there? Castle town still there? Because it was in Hyrule Warriors, but it wasn't in Breath of the Wild. Anyway, just some thoughts I've been thinking about this weekend after I saw my buddy play the game. What do you guys think? Have you seen the trailer? First off, are you excited for Breath of the Wild 2? Are you ready for this? Did you like the first Breath of the Wild? It was a divergence from the Legends of Zelda series in the first place. What did you think about that? Are you excited for the sequel coming out? Have you played Hyrule Warriors? Are you excited for the possibility that it could be a sequel to one game and not the other? Let me know in the comments down below, or if you got something you want to say about it, send me an email at davidcampproductions@gmail.com. This is kind of one of those neat little things that you see and you go, ooh, I love these games, but man, maybe there's something deeper going on here. Listen, if you like what you hear, you know what we all say, right? Like the video and subscribe and all that. And I'd appreciate it if you would. I love you all. Thank you so much for coming and listening to me talk about this. And until the next time, this is Matt Powers saying, nerd out.
Through the vortex!